All right, let's dive into the world of Indian infrastructure. Today, we're looking at GRR Infraprojects Limited.
GRIL.
GRIL, yeah. They're a big deal in India's infrastructure scene, and we're going to break down their performance. We've got their Q3 FY25 investor presentation and their financial results.
It's really something to see how companies like GRIL are shaping India's future.
Oh.
Infrastructure is key for economic development, and GRIL's right there, building highways, bridges, railways.
They even build ropeways.
Oh, yeah,
Imagine like a ropeway commute over the mountains. Talk about a view.
that's wild.
But okay, before we get too carried away, let's start with the basics. What exactly does GRIL do?
Well, they work on a whole range of infrastructure projects. Highways, railways, bridges, that's their specialty. But they also do some, more niche things,
Like?
ropeways, like you said, and they even make those metal crash barriers.
Oh, interesting.
Their reach is pretty impressive, 23 states, 4 manufacturing units.
And over 8,000 pieces of equipment.
Yeah, it's a big operation.
8,000 pieces of equipment. That's like a whole army of construction vehicles. I wonder how they keep track of all that.
Right.
But what I find really interesting is their focus on vertical integration. What's the deal with that?
So having those in-house manufacturing capabilities,
Yeah.
that's strategic for GRIL.
How so?
It gives them more control
Control over what?
over their supply chain, their costs,
Mm.
could boost their efficiency and profitability. They're not just building, they're involved in so many steps.
Okay, so they're big, they're diverse, they're strategic, but how are they actually doing financially? Let's look at those Q3 numbers.
All right, so the Q3 report, it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Mhm.
Revenue's up compared to last quarter, which is good, but it's slightly down year over year.
So a little bit of a warning sign there.
Yeah, could suggest some challenges.
Okay. What about profitability? What's the story there?
Their EBITDA margin.
Which is?
Oh, sorry. It's a key indicator of operational efficiency, how well they're managing costs.
Okay.
That margin is up from the previous quarter, but down compared to the same period last year.
So their profit-making power is improving, but it's not as strong as it was a year ago.
Yeah, good analogy.
Interesting.
Okay.
So what could be causing that year-over-year dip? Anything to worry about?
It's worth looking into, for sure. Could be lots of things. Rising input costs, more competition, even project delays. To really get it, we need to dig deeper into how they're operating.
Right. Let's park that for now and look at their profit after tax, PID.
Yeah, the big one.
And in this case, it's up significantly year-over-year.
That jump in PID 8, definitely something to note. It's probably due to a few things. One big one is they completed and sold some projects, and that's detailed in their projects portfolio and historical data sections. When those projects wrap up, the revenue boosts PAE.
So they're managing their project pipeline strategically to make the most profit.
Seems like it.
But with revenues slightly down year-over-year, is this a sustainable trend?
That's the question. To figure out if it's sustainable long-term, we need to look past the current numbers and check out their future prospects.
Right. And that brings us to their order book, which is basically a list of future projects, right?
Yeah, potential revenue in the pipeline.
And theirs is sitting at a massive RS, 1,068,869 million.
That's a lot of potential work.
It is. Plus, they're bidding on even more projects.
Mm.
So what can we tell from what's in this order book?
Breaking it down by client type and project type can give us some clues. Like, are they relying too much on government contracts? Or are they spreading out their client base?
Makes sense.
Same with project types. Are they focused on one area, or are they using their expertise across different sectors? These things matter when we're looking at their growth strategy.
It's like peeking into their roadmap for the future. Where are they going and how will they get there?
Exactly.
A couple of specific projects caught my eye. There's that ropeway project, which just sounds like awesome. And then a multimodal logistics park, or MMLP.
MLP, yeah.
That sounds huge.
Definitely worth a closer look. The Ropeway project shows they can handle diverse and technically tricky projects. It's not just about building a way to get around. It's about connecting communities, especially in those harder to reach areas.
Makes sense. What about that MMLP project? What's the big deal there?
Those are really important for logistics, making supply chains run smoothly.
Okay.
They're like hubs that bring together different modes of transportation so everything flows better, goods move faster, trade is easier. This project shows GRLs involved in building the infrastructure that will support India's economic growth.
So they're not just building roads and bridges, they're building the systems that'll power India's economy in the future.
Yeah, it's a long-term vision.
It's impressive, you know? Their commitment to such diverse and future-focused projects.
It speaks to their ambition for sure, and their understanding of how India's infrastructure needs are changing.
Yeah. But building infrastructure, it's about more than just bricks and mortar, right? It's also about the people, the leadership.
Absolutely, the people who are driving these big endeavors forward.
Let's talk about the team at the top of GRAL. Their presentation mentions a strong board, and they definitely seem to have a lot of experience and expertise.
Yeah, they've got people with backgrounds in engineering, construction, finance, even banking. That range of experience brings a lot of different viewpoints and skills to the table.
It's like they've put together an all-star team of infrastructure experts.
Exactly.
But experience isn't everything, right? What about their approach to things like sustainability and corporate governance?
Those are crucial, for sure. GRAL talks about sustainable development, but it'd be good to dig deeper.
What do you mean?
Like, what are their specific initiatives? What's their environmental impact? What are communities saying about them?
So it's not just about talking the talk, it's about walking the walk.
Exactly.
They need to be transparent and accountable to build trust and make sure this development is truly sustainable.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so they seem to be doing well on the leadership front, but we've just scratched the surface of GRIL's story. There's a lot more to explore.
Yeah, we've laid the groundwork with their financials and projects, but to really understand GRIL, we need to get into the human side of their work.
Right.
We'll explore that further next time.
Stay tuned, folks. We're just getting started with GRR Infraprojects Limited. We've been talking about GRIL's numbers, the financials and those impressive projects they're working on. But let's shift gears a bit.
Cool.
What kind of impact are these big infrastructure projects having on the people and communities they touch?
Yeah, that's important to think about. Infrastructure development, it's not just about the physical stuff. It's about people's lives. GRIL's projects, they can create jobs, and improve access to important services, and that can really boost economic activity in those areas.
So it's like a ripple effect, right?
Exactly.
The construction itself provides jobs, but then once it's done, the highways and railways, those open up opportunities for trade, tourism, all sorts of development.
Right, precisely. And don't forget about the social impact, too, like that ropeway project we talked about.
Yeah, the cool one.
It's not just a fun way to get around. It can be a real lifeline for remote communities, giving them better access to healthcare, education, markets, all kinds of things.
It's easy to get caught up in the wow factor of the engineering, but it's really about how these projects affect people's lives.
Absolutely. It's about improving their quality of life.
Yeah. But it's important to be realistic, too. I mean, large-scale projects like this, they have downsides, right?
Oh, for sure. There are always risks.
Like what?
Well, displacement of communities, environmental impact, even social disruption sometimes.
So it's not all positive.
No, there are definitely complexities and challenges, and those need to be handled responsibly.
Like you said, land acquisition can be a sensitive issue. Sometimes people have to move to make way for these projects.
Yeah. And the environmental impact has to be considered very carefully. We're talking deforestation, habitat loss, pollution. All those things need to be minimized as much as possible.
Sounds like GRIL has a big responsibility to make sure their projects benefit communities without causing too much harm.
Absolutely. And that's where their commitment to sustainability comes in. Their Growing Together section, remember? It highlights how they try to incorporate environmental and social factors into everything they do.
Okay, but what does that actually look like, on the ground? Are they just checking boxes, or are they really trying to make a difference?
That's what we need to dig into. Ideally, you want to see concrete examples, data on their environmental performance, what people in the communities are saying, that kind of thing.
So actions speak louder than words, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Transparency and accountability, those are key for building trust and making sure this kind of development is truly sustainable.
Okay, makes sense. Let's zoom out for a second and think bigger picture. GRIL's story is just one part of India's huge plans for infrastructure, right? We're seeing so much investment in roads, railways, airports, you name it. But what will all this mean in the long run? Will it really change India's economy and society?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
On one hand, there's so much potential. Better infrastructure can mean faster economic growth. It makes trade easier, lowers transportation costs, attracts more investment.
It's like setting the stage for a more prosperous and connected India.
Exactly. And it can improve people's lives, too. Think
Yeah.
about it. Better access to healthcare, education, job opportunities.
Yeah.
Imagine remote villages seamlessly connected to cities, goods and services flowing freely, opportunities for everyone.
It's a great vision. But are there risks? I mean, downsides we need to consider.
Of course, big projects like this can have unintended consequences. We talked about the environmental concerns and people being displaced from their homes. But there's also the risk of corruption, mismanagement, even more debt if things aren't done efficiently.
So it's about finding a balance.
Yes,
Yeah.
maximizing the benefits while minimizing the risks.
It sounds like India's journey when it comes to infrastructure, it's not just about building a lot of things, it's about building them the right way.
That's a good way to put it. It's about responsible development as much as it is about ambitious construction.
And that's where companies like GRL, they have a really important role to play, right?
Absolutely. The decisions they make, the actions they take, their commitment to sustainability, all of that will shape the future of India's infrastructure.
Okay, so as we're getting to the end of our deep dive into GRL, what are the key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, first, GRIL is a major force in India's infrastructure boom. They have a diverse portfolio of projects, and they're focused on doing a lot in-house, that vertical integration.
Right.
Financially, they seem solid, but there are questions about whether their profit margins are sustainable long-term.
And we can't forget the impact their work has on people.
Exactly. Their projects have the potential to be really transformative for communities, but they need to be careful and responsible when it comes to the social and environmental aspects.
It's complicated.
It is. And finally, remember, GRIL is just one piece of this much bigger picture. India's infrastructure goals are huge.
Yeah.
And understanding GRIL's story gives us a glimpse into the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for this rapidly developing nation.
Okay, so we've talked about GRL's money situation, their projects, how they affect communities.
Right.
But there's one more thing we need to look at. Leadership. The people running this company.
Yeah, those at the top, they really shape the whole company culture, the values.
Exactly. And in infrastructure, things are so complex.
Oh, yeah.
Strong leadership is super important.
That's crucial.
We talked about their strong board before, how they've got all this experience.
Right.
But tell me about the individuals, what kind of vision are they bringing?
Well, their chairman, the managing director, he's got over 40 years in engineering and construction.
Wow.
That's a whole career, a ton of knowledge. He's seen India's infrastructure change over time, and you can tell he's passionate about it.
It's like having a captain who's been through every storm, right?
Exactly.
What about the rest of the leadership? All veterans, or some fresh faces too.
It's a good mix, actually. Experience and new ideas, that's a good balance.
Makes sense.
They've got executive directors with backgrounds in finance, law, project management.
Oh, so they've got all the bases covered.
Yeah, it's a well-rounded approach.
But leadership isn't just about what's on your resume, right? It's about character, values. What about GRIL's leadership on that front?
It's tough to say for sure, just from presentations and stuff.
Yeah.
But they talk about sustainable development. They've got independent directors on their board.
Okay.
Those things suggest they're committed to doing things ethically, responsibly.
That's good to hear, especially for companies involved in these massive infrastructure projects. They've got to have integrity, transparency.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, actions speak louder than words, right? How they actually impact everyone, that's what shows true leadership.
True. So as we wrap up our look at GRIL, what are the big things our listeners should take away?
Okay, so GRIL is a really interesting example of a company at the forefront of all this infrastructure growth in India. They're in a good spot financially. They're taking on these ambitious projects.
Right.
And they're trying to be sustainable in how they operate.
Yeah.
But their story's not finished yet.
Yeah.
How they handle the challenges ahead, how the world changes, that'll determine their success.
It's a story in progress. We'll be watching to see what happens.
Definitely. One thing's for sure. India's infrastructure, its future, it's tied to companies like GRIL.
It's all connected.
And like we talked about, their decisions have a huge impact, not just on them, but on the people they work with, the environment, how India developed as a whole.
So next time anyone sees a bridge, a highway, even one of those ropeways, think about all the people who made it happen. The engineers, the workers, the leaders.
And remember, it's more than just concrete and steel. It's about what a country wants, what it struggles with, how it could grow.
Well said. That's it for our deep dive into GR Infraprojects Limited. Hope you all enjoyed exploring this world of Indian infrastructure with us.
Thanks for listening.